So I went to a session called Turning a Blank Page into a Winning Idea. And again, as it is with a lot of these sessions, the title can often be different from the content of the session, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It's just it kind of surprises you, yeah. And this one had a New Yorker cartoonist and a PR guy from Edelman. So two kind of high level thinkers. Yeah. And what really was surprising about this session is the guys were very honest about their shortcomings and their failings and their even their personal flaws. Like the guy from the Edelman was a dyslexic, but he talked about how that really he was able to take that weakness and turn it into a strength because he has to be very visual in everything he does, because if he writes down the words, it gets very confusing for him. And so when he's leading a workshop with people, he comes in and he does workshops with anywhere from 25 to like 250 people and gets them to come out with a refined message. It's a lot of like some of the work that we do with groups. So and with Kevin Kerr, it's a very similar process, although he's doing it with nonprofits, he's doing it with other companies. But he uses a lot of visuals, and he tries to take the ideas that he gets out of those situations and puts them into a visual up on paper. Yeah. And so and then of course the cartoonist, he was saying how he has to come up with 10 good ideas per week, which then he takes to the New Yorker and he pitches. And on a good week, they'll take one. So he has at best he has a 90% failure rate with his ideas. And so the whole topic of this conversation was just the grind, the arduous process of coming up with good ideas and being okay with failure and continuing to forge forward. And they shared some semi-interesting tips. Like, it was actually kind of surprising because people from the audience asked, well, what are the tips and tricks of your trade? Like, what can I take with me? And they offered up some ideas, but mostly they just said, I've abandoned these ideas. I've come full circle where instead of coming in with a very, kind of a process that I've developed as an expert over the years, now I just try to put myself, at least in the case of the Edelman guy, I try to put myself in the shoes of my audience, and I try to show my weaknesses, and I try to show them that this is an okay place to offer up ideas and try to add to them, saying, so someone offers up an idea, they say, yes, and then they'll add on to that. So yes and is kind of their mantra, rather than saying, all right, I have these 5 things that I kind of either trick people into giving me what they want, or I know that this icebreaker game helps draw out from people what I want from them. Rather, they go in and they be transparent and they let their weaknesses show, and that makes other people comfortable to draw out what they're trying to get at. And so it was again a very unique kind of session. Not at all what I was expecting. I was expecting to kind of get this, blank page to winning idea. They're going to share the 5-step process that you take from sitting at a desk, not knowing what you want to talk about, and needing to come up with a strategic plan. And here's how I get there. And it was just a very interesting measure, or an interesting study of taking your weaknesses and turning it into strengths, and being okay with a long, drawn-out, painful creation process, and not settling on the first idea that you come up with.
Right.
And I think our groups can take
that's good enough.
Well, because I've been in meetings in some of the nonprofits that I've worked with where people are like, all right, we need to do X, Y, Z, and somebody will say an idea and
or say a name. That's what I always like. They'll say like a branding name. They're like, what about this?
Yep.
And it's like, there's so many more names. Let's just bounce around some ideas. No idea is a bad idea.
Yeah,
but they're just satisfied.
And
we
immediately go with and the first one that sounds good, right? So maybe we bounce around a couple of ideas, and then we just pick the one that sounds the best of those ideas.
Right.
And
so you can take this home. You don't have to.
And that was one point that they made, is that it can be long and drawn out. You can take rest breaks. They said take the time to analyze something from every different perspective. And one example that they gave is, think about the numbers 0 through 9. And all the different, something very simple that we've learned in elementary school, right? And think about all the variations there. All the possible number combinations that you could come up with. All the things that you could attach those numbers to. And that's just a small sampling. So very cool session, and very cool to think about even now as we're talking about what I took away from it. not at all what I expected, but I'm glad I went.
Yeah, unexpected.
Yeah, which is what South by Southwest is all about.
Yeah.